Okay, so shout out to Milano. Milano. I hope that is because it sounds feminine and masculine. I'm gonna address you as a he, but if you are a she, I do apologize. But you know, Milano slid into my DMs and asked me a very valid question. And rather than just texting and responding, I felt like it was a good opportunity for me to make a video and I'll take advantage of this opportunity I'm being presented. Essentially, here I'll read you guys the notes. What he said. He said, first of all, right, of course, opening, saying hi, how are you? Can I ask you a question? I'm like, sure, go ahead, ask me your question. He goes on to say, first of all, I don't know what made me interested in learning about esoteric slash ancient knowledge, but I did, and I'm still curious. So can you tell me, how did you learn all these things you post? Did you take a course or something? And what made you interested in all of this? So first and foremost, Milano, it's very important to understand that we all have an innate archetype or an innate nature. And for me, my archetype is heavily rooted in that Jupiterian energy or that ninth house energy. If you were to pull up my chart, you would recognize that I have Mercury, the Sun, both conjuncting Jupiter, right? Mercury is communication, how you, the ideas you entertain, but also the ideas you want to communicate and share with those around you, right? And so I have Mercury conjuncting Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, knowledge, expansion. Jupiter very much does deal with, spiritual knowledge, even occult, ancient knowledge, right? But furthermore, I have Mercury in my ninth house. With me having Mercury in my ninth house, I've always been a person who questioned faith, because the ninth house is faith, belief, religion, spirituality. Mercury is communication, intellect. Gemini is curiosity. You feel what I'm saying? I have Mercury and Gemini in the ninth house. So I've always been very curious. I've always had a lot of questions. And Gemini's key phrase is I think, right? And Gemini rules thought. So I'm a very deep, philosophical, thought-orientated person. When I used to be younger, I used to be so deep in thought, but then I started to grow and find my equilibrium. You see, the opposite energy to the ninth house, which I have a stellium in, is the third house. The third house is the house of the immediate environment and so your surroundings. And what happened was I became so involved in spirituality, religion, faith, things that are intangible, angelic beings, spirit guides, things like that, that I started to neglect my immediate environment. You feel what I'm saying? And then I had to ground and anchor myself back. You feel what I'm saying? So it's a very real deep thing, but that's just my nature. You know what I'm saying? You can most definitely say I'm a very ancient, old soul, and I not only like to explain my nature as a teacher and a person with tremendous amount of knowledge to my ninth house placements, right? I'm not only connected to that, but I also like to explain that first and foremost, I have my moon in Gemini in the first decan of, which is the decan of intuition. So I love astrology because it's so deep. So in the stars, the first decan of Gemini is represented by Ursa Minor. Ursa Minor is Latin for the lesser bear or the little bear, right? Ursa Minor is depicted as this little bear that's rotating around the North Star, which is the star that signifies truth or the highest truth. And this bear is signified going backwards. You feel what I'm saying? And its tail, it's like the closest bear to the North Star. You feel what I'm saying? To signify that, because there's three bears. There's two bears. There's Ursa Minor, which signifies intuition, and there's Ursa Major, which signifies reason. I have my sun in the decan of Ursa Major, so I'm a very grounded person as well. I've done a lot of research. I have actually took a course. I took a course on astrology, but this course was presented by the Brotherhood of Light, which is kind of a very Masonic organization. You know what I'm saying? Like because I have my moon in the eighth house, right? So with me having my moon in the 8th house, I tend to attract a lot of books, because Gemini rules books. You feel what I'm saying? I tend to attract a lot of books and things like that that are hidden or secretive. You feel what I'm saying? Like I have the apocryphy. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it. It's a new word to me. But so there's a portion, right, of the Bible. There's like a handful of books from the Bible that were removed because they hold more mystical, more philosophical, like I don't want to say philosophical, but it's more mystical knowledge. It's way too spiritual, way too out there. So those books were removed, but I just happened to get my hands on them. But it was so easy for what I'm saying. That course that came to me, I don't even know how I accessed it, but it's a deep course. And within that course, it's anchored around astrology. But the teacher teaches astrology in a manner where he explains that astrology is essential for any student of the occult sciences / esoteric knowledge. He explains that astrology is the science of decoding the nature of things, meaning that when you understand astrology, you can look at its interior composition. You see, astrology is a spiritual science, and the stars in of themselves are just pointing to something deep. So in reality, what you see above when it comes to the stars is a reflection of something within you, right? And that's the law of correspondence. So I not only teach astrology, I also teach hermeticism, and we got to know these laws. The law of correspondence states everything is a reflection. Everything corresponds. As above, so below, but as within, so without. You feel what I'm saying? But in understanding astrology, what happens is you get a key, right? Solomon's the two keys to Solomon's temple of knowledge, right? There's the greater key and the lesser key. The greater key is a golden key. Gold is the sun's energy. The sun is connected to astrology, right? But then we got the lesser key, or the silver key. The silver key is the key of tarot, right? Or the moon. Silver is the moon. And so the thing about the tarot is it's the Torah. A lot of people don't understand this, but when it comes to the tarot, it was devised by the Jews at their time of oppression, when they were being oppressed and not allowed or persecuted for practicing their religion. So they had to get creative with it. And thus, the tarot came into play. You feel what I'm saying? It's also the book of thought. The tarot, it's also the book of thought, or thought. So it's a very, very deep thing. And so when you have Solomon's golden key, which is astrology, and you have Solomon's lesser key, which is tarot, and the thing about tarot and astrology is they connect to each other. Like the moon, right, which borrows light from the sun, tarot also borrows its wisdom and knowledge from astrology. So it's a very deep thing, and that's why I teach astrology. That's why I have a course on it, because it flies over so many people's heads, yet people at the top, who are really, really running things, calling shots and everything like that, they're not naive to the significance and power of astrology. It's a real deep thing. And essentially, it merely reveals the will of God. A lot of people don't understand that the stars weren't placed above in the organization that they're in by men. It's all divinely orchestrated. And it just so happens that there is a divine language within the stars that the wise men, right, were able to decode, to ascertain or understand the time of Jesus is coming, right? Jesus Christ is coming, but also his location. Within the Bible, they literally talk about astrologers, or magi's, which is a word for magicians, as wise men. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what you need to get into. You need to get into astrology, but you have to get into it from an occult perspective, not a modern pop day now, because astrology nowadays, like the modern pop astrology, is watered down, it's trash, and it's actually very detrimental to a lot of people. It's better off thrown away. Like, we don't need that astrology. We need the real, true like Magi practiced astrology that correlates alchemy, and that's truly anchored in truth. You feel what I'm saying? Because astrology today is putting people in boxes. It's making people believe and think that they're because of their star sign, they're disconnected from divinity. I say this because divinity, or God, source, spirit, is infinite possibility, potential. God's spirit is all things. You feel what I'm saying? Like there is no confining the infinite intelligence, right? But a lot of people get into astrology and they think, oh, like this is my faith, or I'm stuck. But in Egyptian religion, they taught that, or Thoth, right? The deity Thoth came to the people and told them they need not be under the rule of the gods, which were the planets, right? They were personifying the sun as Ra, the moon as Isis, etc. Seth, Mars, right? Etc. Osiris. Why am I going on and on? Let me not. Right? You feel what I'm saying? So Thoth, which is really an incarnation, or a signification of Mercury energy, the messenger of the gods, in engaging in special practices to purify himself and things like that. Because Mercury rules, because Thoth is Mercury, right? The deity from Egyptian religion, Thoth is Mercury. And now when we look at Mercury, we know that Mercury rules Gemini, which is communication, divine communication, especially because Gemini's occult trait is our ability to channel, our ability to receive information from the higher realms, which is very depicted, in Hermes, the god, the messenger god. But so Thoth, but before Thoth could truly tap in, he had to get into his Virgo energy. He had to purify himself, cleanse himself, even isolate himself, because Virgo is very hermit, but especially purification. And in purifying himself, he allowed his vessel to, in a sense, not even contain, but broadcast, broadcast to the higher realms, but also receive and contain the divine messages of the divine. You feel what I'm saying? And so Thoth connected with Amun-Ra, right, which was the primordial being that dealt with every god, right? So like the Egyptians practice, I think it's called pantheism, right, where they observe many gods, but they knew there was one God. It's almost like Christianity, where there's three, but they're really one. It's the same thing in Egyptian religion, except they had multiple, but then the multiple unified into one force or one being. And Thoth, in contacting directly contacting the divine, got the revelation that if you yourself raise your vibration and connect with the source or creator of all things, God, right, then you no longer have to be under the codes and conducts of the celestial bodies or the celestial heavens. It's like, man is so powerful. Mankind, we're very powerful. And, there's certain mythology that explains how the gods were jealous of man, right? I mean, in, in Christianity, they say the certain angels were jealous of man. But not only that, that man, in a sense, was positioned at a higher ranking than the angels. And this is because we do, as humans, have a divine spark within us. We say we have the Christ within us. The thing about angels is they are just servants. It's a beautiful thing, of course, but they don't have free will and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But pretty much whereas the angels are just obedient to the law of the divine, and they do what is ordered of them. And because even like the way of the stars, like if you read Enoch, you will learn that the angels are responsible for the mechanics of the heavens, the influence of the heavens, and things like that. So that's what they're doing, but God could overwrite that, is what I'm trying to say here. And so I say all that to say that if you have been drawn to occult knowledge, get into astrology. It is the golden key to Solomon's temple. Sol O Men really just means the sun. You know what I'm saying? At least, because I don't, let's not break it down too much right now. At least in the etymology of the word, right? Sol is a Latin word for the sun. On is an Egyptian city that was known as the city of the sun, or on. I think that's where we get the concept of on and off, like turning the light on. And then Om is just a Sanskrit word for deity. So Sol Oman is like the sun god. But when you think of the sun is a king. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would be more comfortable preparing some notes first before I talk about it. Like, I know what I'm talking about, but I always want to present it in a logical way. But that's there to answer your question, my friend. Peace. Have a beautiful, blessed day. And tap in. Like, right now, my astrology course is at a discount. So you can get it up until Saturday. That discounted price is going to go away on Saturday. But hit me up and I'll hook you up, You will not regret it. It's going to be one of the best things you do for yourself. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you really don't know what you don't have until it's there. You feel what I'm saying? Like, looking back, like astrology is the science of light, and it'll literally breathe light into your life. But anyways, peace, namaste. You guys have a beautiful, blessed day. And shout out to the Celestial Tribe. Shout out to all of you beautiful souls out there tuning in and supporting the mission. All right, peace. What is the mission? The mission is enlightening those who are ready. I'm not per se here to awaken humanity. I'm not here to save anybody. I can really care less, to be honest with you. I'm just here to be a beacon of light, and whoever is drawn and attracted to the splendor, the beauty, let's get it. Because saving, that's weird energy. Like, honestly, like, all is well, at least in my world, and that's all that matters. All is well in my world, and I can teach you, if you come to me, how to ensure all is well in your world. Truly, cosmically, all is well, but we have a tendency of disconnecting ourselves from the wellness that flows within all things. But all is well in this corner of the world. All right, peace. I hope that answered your question. Have a beautiful, blessed day, my friend. Peace.